registered nurse Ovie. In this video, we'll be talking on histology of the nervous system. So on histology of the nervous system comprises of the neurons and the neuralgias. In our previous video, we said neurons are the functional unit of the nervous system, while neuralgias are the supporting structures of the neurons. So these are the basic units of the nervous system, and talking about the neurons has already been discussed in our previous video, and now in this video we'll pay more attention on neuralgias. Stay tuned. So talking about the neuralgias now, the neuralgias are different from that of the central nervous system and that of the peripheral nervous system. The neuralgias of the central nervous system are four of them. Now the CNS neuralgia. We have the astrocytes, we have the oligodendrocytes, then the next is the microbials, and lastly we have the Ependyma cells. So talking about the astrocyte now, the astrocyte are star-like structures found within the central nervous system, mainly that is within the brain or the spinal cord. They function in supporting the neurons. So the first function of the astrocytes is what? Supports. They support neurons, and also they form the blood-brain barrier, that is the BBB. It functions in the formation of the blood-brain barrier, which prevents the mixture of blood. That's the contact of blood with the brain, or the blood and the brain fluid. Then the next function of it now is to maintain an appropriate environment for nerve impulse transmission. That is, maintains an environment that promotes the transmission of nerve impulses. And lastly, in infant or in embryos, the astrocyte also functions in production of chemicals that enhances the migration and interconnection of neurons. That is, the function of the astrocyte is to produce chemicals or secrete chemicals that helps in the growth, migration, and interconnections of various neurons. Now, the next which we'll talk about now is the oligodendrocyte. Remember, from the word oligo means what? Small, and dendrocytes, remember from the previous video where we talked about the nervous system, and we talked about the dendrite. So dendrite means small trees. So oligodendrocyte simply refers to what? Small tree. Remember, oligo small and dendro is what? Tree. So small tree. Now the function of the oligodendrocyte is in the formation of the myelin sheath. That is to say that the oligodendrocytes are found along the axon of the neurons, and they function in what? Production of myelin sheath. That is, its function is in what? Myelination. Let's put it that way for short. It functions in what? Myelination of the neurons. Now the next which we'll talk about now are the microglias. The microglias are also smaller structures found within the nervous system. The function of the microglias are phagocytic in nature. That is, they act as macrophages, which helps in what? Engulfing debris or waste materials formed in the production of nerve cells or nerve organelles. So the work of these now is what? The function of the microglias is what? Phagocytosis. Then the next which we'll talk about now is the Ependyma cells. The Ependyma cells are also neuralgias of the central nervous system, and the function of the Ependyma cells is in the production, maintenance, and regulation of the level of the CSF. So we can put for short its functions in what? Maintenance, production, and regulation of CSF. The Ependyma cells also functions in the production of a barrier which we refer to as the blood CSF barrier. That is the blood and cerebrospinal fluid barrier. So the function of the blood CSF barrier is to prevent or to avoid the mixture of the blood and the cerebrospinal fluid. Remember, the CSF is only found within the brain, that is the ventricles of the brain, and it is also found within the neural tube of the spinal cord, so that the parts where the Ependyma cells are formed. Remember, the functions of the neuralgias of the CSF, of the CNS, that is the central nervous system, is one, to support neurons, formation of blood-brain barrier, maintenance of a suitable environment for nerve impulse transmission, and lastly, in infants, it secretes chemicals that helps in the growth, migration, and interconnection of neurons. While the oligodendrocyte functions in myelination, which means its function is in the production of myelin sheath. While the microglias now are phagocytic in nature, which means they help in consumption or breakdown of microorganisms or debris or whatever that is not needed within the cell. While ependyma cells have two major functions, which are the production and the regulation of the level of cell of the CSF, that is cerebrospinal fluid, while it also forms the blood CSF barrier, that is the blood CSF barrier. The neuroglans of the peripheral nervous system are of two types, so right now PNS2, which are the Schwann cells and satellite cells. The functions of the Schwann cells are similar to that of the oligodendrocytes in that they are responsible for myelination of the axons of the peripheral nervous system. That's just the function of the Schwann cells. While the satellite cells are similar to the astrocytes in function. Remember, the astrocyte and satellite cell, these are similar in function. That is, it is responsible for providing support to the neurons of the peripheral nervous system, while it also regulates the movement of materials between the neuronal cell body, and interstitial cells. That is, it regulates movement within the cytoplasm of the cell body and interstitial fluid. So this will bring us to the end of histology of the nervous system. Thank you for watching.